Good morning, good morning, good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Mark Whiting just walked through the door at the same time as I did. Morning, Mark. Good of you to join us. Jim Turner is in the house as well. Morning, Jim. Thank you for joining us. I've already had a letter from Chris Ford's mum. Don't think I'll make today's show as my new cat rep's calling in around 10. You'd think they'd know better. Yeah, you would think they'd know better. Caterpillar, I'm assuming Finning here. Sort it out, would you? People have things to do at 10 o'clock in the morning, like watch this. Good to be back. I'll just say very quickly, morning to Mercy Johnston. Thank you for joining us as well. Yeah, good to be back. Had a lovely day yesterday. Well, had a very nice evening, actually, to be perfectly honest. Met up with the fine folks at JCB. I'll tell you a bit more about that in a moment. And then yesterday, basically getting under the hood of the Hydromax car. Saw it in not quite all its glory. They were still ramping up the testing. We saw it at just under 180 mile an hour yesterday, which is way quicker than I would like to drive, but still a long way short of the 350 they're aiming at. But I have to say, first and foremost, the people at JCB, particularly, a couple of people in particular, Ryan Ballard, who is kind of the engineering head on the whole thing, absolute gent and a real enthusiast. But talking about enthusiasts, there's a guy at JCB called Mark Richards, works for their engine department. He has been one of the people that's been involved in taking the diesel engine and turning into a hydrogen injection, in a hydrogen combustion engine. That's the word I was looking for, a hydrogen combustion engine. I don't think I've ever met anyone quite so pleased with their work as Mark. And I don't mean in a smug way. It was almost a case of, I cannot wait to tell you people about this. Bouncing off the walls he was. Fantastic company, fantastic product. The Hydromax looks even better in motion than it did on the stage. And very, very quickly, Andy Green, who is the pilot, driver, call him what you will, fastest man on land. He's the only person that's ever driven a car at supersonic speed. He was the driver of the Diesel Max 20 years ago. He will be the driver of the Hydromax this time around. You know, sometimes you watch a movie and you see, the Brits at their best. You know, he stands about 6'2", 6'3", quite well spoken, calm, chilled, but completely dominates the room. If I were going into battle, even now, I'd quite like Andy Green alongside me. He is one of those. I think the word heroic is bandied around a little bit too much, but Andy Green, an absolute legend. I wish him and the entire JCB Godspeed. Just going back to the event the night before, we met up at a hotel just out, basically within walking distance of Rutland Water, the big old lake there. I came down for our evening meal. We hadn't planned this at all. And there stood in the courtyard was my son Fred, and Fred was wearing a pair of chinos and a green jumper, and I was wearing a pair of chinos and a green jumper, and we laughed and said one of us needs to go upstairs and get changed. We then went in for dinner, and one of the JCB gang, morning Ewan, he was wearing exactly the same. It was literally like the three amigos. It was like we'd coordinated our wardrobes. I promise you we hadn't. Good morning, guys. Have a nightmare chasing the dream. Good morning, Gary. Did you get to meet the lucky driver? Yeah, it was a bit of a funny one as far as the driver was concerned. We had endless time with all of the JCB people, the engineers behind it, the testing crew and everything else. But Andy Green, because he is so in it, I probably got no more than about 10 words to speak to him. He was in the car, he was testing, he was looking at the telematics, he was in the car looking at, and he was here, there, and everywhere. He did a bit of a spiel at the end after he got the Hydromax up to the speed they rang me for, which was about 180 miles an hour yesterday. They're ramping up the speed ahead of it going over to Utah. But no, didn't get a huge amount of time with him, but very, very imposing guy. If anyone can do it, I would suggest he can. Chris Phil says, morning test pilots. Who wants to have a go? Who wants to have a go? Good point. Nigel Williams, good morning, one all. Good morning to you, Nigel. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Andy Dalvell, morning, everyone. How are we all? Loading sticky topsoil onto two 30-ton trucks. Happy days. I actually got up this morning. I thought, it looks quite nice out there. I'll just stick a shirt on, be nice and cool. Yeah, no, chucking it down at the moment. Very quickly, I do need to let you know there is no morning monologue today. It's not that I haven't bothered to written one. I have. I promise I could show it to you if you insist. But I've got to go and pick my missus up from the airport. So, I literally am going to finish this show and then walk out the door. So, apologies for that. I'll bring you something tomorrow. How about that? Dan Cullen, top of the morning, chaps. All the plant and porn addicts alike, and you filthy animals. Yeah, and Ken Hatcher is here as well, with roughly the same weather that I've got. Gary Muirhead says, sounds like he's XRF. He is, in fact. Andy Green is Wing Commander. Andy Green, OBE. Yeah, he's. I would imagine after you've driven fighter jets, 350 mile an hour in a car, probably feels like a bit like cycling to him. But yeah, absolutely top job. Ken says, look, a very good day at JCB Pro Drive. It was. And it's not often you get to go into a live RAF station either. We were at RAF Wittering. I think it was called Wittering, just outside Rutland Water. And yeah, very, very welcoming. Nigel saying Rutland Water is super nice. I plan to take Dot out on the kayak this summer. There you are. Lots and lots of water activities going on yesterday. We drove past it on the coach there and back. Loads of people in the water because it was lovely yesterday. Got a bit of a suntan on my, a bit of sunburn on my neck actually. Bit damp here too, says Dan. Morning, Gary, Nigel, Ken, Chris. Good morning, everyone. And you could add Jim to that list because he's here as well. So yeah, loads to get through. As I say, no morning monologue, but I do need to start with the latest round of this. Yes, we're still soldiering on with this. We're not even past the first round yet. It is Volvo taking on Shantui. Call them what you will. I need your votes, people. I have a banner calling upon you to do so. There you are. Which mini excavator brand would you choose? You've got your own money to spend. You need a mini excavator, but you can only choose from those two brands. Are you going Volvo? Or are you going Shantui? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I've got a funny feeling I know how. I'm saying all of this. The votes are already starting to prove it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 votes so far, and they are all for Volvo. I think Shantui is going to slightly struggle today. But did you take the rods to celebrate the first day of the season, Nigel? No, I didn't. Unfortunately, we didn't have time. And unfortunately, with my wife coming back from Greece today, I won't have time today either. But I am planning to get out hopefully the weekend because, yeah, I can. If you listen very carefully, you can hear the fish calling me. Just so you know, if you're not into fishing at all, we have a closed season. We used to have a closed season. It's hardly observed these days, but there is a closed season for fishing on public waters it runs from March 16th to June 16th. Well, obviously it's June 17th. So the fishing season is open. It is time to go and catch some fish. Andy Dalvell says, who would choose the other one? Not going to write the Chinese brand as I don't want to give it an accidental vote. Well played, Andy Dalvell. Yes, if you had mentioned the other one, you would have inadvertently given them a vote. Well done. Jim Turner says the old fellow worked on Rutland Water. Think it might have been 1976. It is beautiful. Me and my other half don't really do British holidays. Don't often do holidays, to be perfectly honest. But the hotel that we stayed in, which I think is called the Barnsdale, which is, as I say, up near Rutland Water, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I think it was like a converted country house, and we were out in what I guess would have been like the stables at one point, but looking out over onto a field with some nice old moo cows, loads of rabbits, and lots of hawks looking at the rabbits and putting serviettes around their neck. Beautiful. I would quite happily take a weekend up there, and no mistake, good dinner, good chat with the JCB folks, good times all round. Called up with Mr. Drew, called up with Graham Black at Earth Movers, Dan Jilks as well. So loads of people that we all know and love. They were all there as well. And Nigel Chell, John Kavanagh, and all the other folks at JCB. Fantastic time. I will be producing a film on that. Couldn't see any point in hurrying it because it's not really proving much at the moment. I mean, they are basically got another couple of days of testing up at this RAF station. Then they strip the whole thing down, load it into a box, quite a big box, I would imagine, ship it over to America, to Utah, rebuild it, and then I think it's the very beginning of August. The plan is to do a week of testing and then actually go for the record. So there you are. Dan says, I'd like to go there. It sounds great. It really is very nice. I think you'd love it. Nigel Williams says, Saturday morning, I'm away in Aylesbury this week, so no fishing for me until I get back. Seriously, though, it's really hard for me to comment on the Chinese brand as I haven't had one yet, but I will stick with what I know. There's no harm in that. I don't think it's a bad idea at all. While I was away, I don't know if you spotted any of this, I did actually post a couple of articles. One about all what is going on at Vistry, which the other press seem to have either overlooked or have deliberately overlooked. 3 years ago, they were asking or demanding from their supply chain, we want 10% off everything. And the supply chain fell into line. A couple of days ago, it was reported that they were selling some of their houses at £100,000 discount. And then on top of that, they are now looking for voluntary redundancies. And none of the trade press are joining the dots. You know, all of those things point to a company that is not well, and nobody is saying it. Well, I did, so you can see that over on, I think it's on Demolition Insider. But in addition to that, I don't know if you saw this. I think there's some of the people that are on our WhatsApp group. We were kicking back and forth an article from the BBC about JCB, or more specifically about the JCB Pothole Pro. And Leicestershire County Council have basically had one on trial back in January of last year, not January this year, but January of last year. And these trials happen all the time. I'm sure most of you guys have had a machine on demonstration at some point in your career. And it's quite common practice in this industry. You know, you take a piece of kit for a day, 2 days, a week, a month, or even more to evaluate it, to test it, to get used to it, and then you make your purchasing decision at the end of it. Well, Leicestershire County Council did precisely that back in January 2025. They took a Pothole Pro, decided it wasn't for them, and sent it back. For reasons that may be obvious, a political reporter from the BBC submitted a Freedom of Information Act request to Leicestershire County Council to ask why they had not taken the machine. Now, bearing in mind, this is a machine that's in very regular and very successful use in Nottinghamshire, in Staffordshire, and it's in another council fairly close by, all of which have taken it. But apparently, basically, Leicestershire County Council, having had this Freedom of Information Act request, decided this is not for us, and then went as far as to say, and I probably need to get the words right on this, they said that the pothole machine is not economical. And they went on to say something else as well. Yes, does not stack up as an economical piece of kit. Okay. Now, being a journalist, you know, given this is what I do for a living, I must admit I was slightly surprised that somebody had gone to the trouble to do a Freedom of Information request over something that didn't happen. Now, if Leicestershire County Council had gone out and splurged great wadges of Leicestershire County Council taxpayers' money on a machine that then subsequently proved to be utterly useless, then maybe there is a valid story to be had there. Maybe, you know, you tested it and you thought it was okay and it's not. What on earth are you thinking about? But no, they tested it. just for a day. And then they decided, no, we're not going to go ahead. And the BBC decided there's more to this than meets the eye. We need to have a very close look at this. The reason that I've taken it apart, and I've written an article about this, is two or three times in the article, the BBC reporter mentions, not in passing, the fact that Leicestershire County Council is minority-led by the Reform Party, and the Reform Party gets two or three mentions. I don't want to cast aspersions, but my guess is that nobody in the Reform Party could pick a pothole pro out of a lineup. They won't have a freaking clue about it. And yet, this report has gone ahead. The very fact that this is a story about local highway maintenance, but they've put a political reporter on it who has mentioned politics 2, 3, 4 times in the article. That's not reporting. It's a hatchet job is what it is. So if you're that way inclined, you can have a look at that. Demolition Insider. I've done literally a piece by piece, paragraph by paragraph, tearing that article asunder because it is tosh, I'm telling you. Now, I'm not paid by JCB. I'm not here to say that the Pothole Pro is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Never driven one, don't know. But one of the criticisms that was levelled at it was, you see the problem, well, two things. That it's a very big excavator. Pothole Pro's 11 tons. JCB's own product range tops out at 51, 52 tons. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not a big excavator. Actually, it's quite a small one. So that was one thing. The other point that they made, which apparently goes right against the JCB Pothole Pro, is that it leaves debris which will require another machine or another attachment to clear it up. Can you think of a single type of road building, road repair, or road maintenance that doesn't require 1 or 2, 3, 4, or 5 machines? You always have a sweeper. You often have a compactor. You often have a skid steer or a wheel loader. It's a disgrace. Listen, I am protective of the BBC mainly because they house Sir David Attenborough. God bless him. But this is a piece of shit. It really is. If you want to read more about it, you can. I wonder, says Dan, I wonder if this is the start of administration in the pipeline. Well, they are being very, very aggressive. This is Vistry we're talking about here. Very, very aggressive with clawing cash in one way or another. Watch closely. Nigel Williams says the same Vistry demanding a 10% discount. Yeah, that was 3 years ago. But surely a journalist of any note would recognise, well, they did that 3 years ago, and now they're giving away houses at £100,000 off, and they're looking for voluntary redundancies. They're taken in isolation. Demanding a 10% discount is a pretty big old red flag. Voluntary redundancies, pretty big red flag. Slashing the cost of your homes, which is basically where your cash flow comes from, pretty big red flag. You put them all together and you've got a lot of red flags, and nobody is putting those flags together. So I've written about that. I'll probably do that for you tomorrow. Nigel Williams says they bought out a lot of housing on infrastructure companies, Galliford Try, etc. Hungry beast to feed. Yeah. Excuse me, I've been talking too long already. Yeah. It is a big beast to feed, but Nigel, and I mean this with the greatest respect, Nigel basically, first and foremost, is a digger driver. Now, Nigel has already spotted the fact that this was the same Vistry that demanded the 10% discount. He's also aware of the fact that it bought out the likes of Galliford Try and so on down the line. This isn't his job. Because he's of the industry, he knows this stuff. And he, like I, have put 2 and 2 together and gone, yeah, that doesn't look good, does it? And yet nobody in the press is doing that. Every single story about it, it's in complete isolation. It took over a year to say this. Madness. Machine is, as they said, too big and road closures needed. Yeah. Shocker. When the BBC report something, the first question is asked, why have they chosen to say this? It all boils down to political bias. The BBC are nothing more than gobshites. As I say, I will take a step back. I still, probably more out of nostalgia than actual good sense, I still believe that the BBC is a marvellous, marvellous institution. But the moment that you send a political reporter to investigate the non-purchase of a digger, as Jim says, why are you doing that? Are you having a dig at the council? Are you having a dig at JCB? Are you perhaps having a dig at the bloke that owns JCB, who happens to be both a Reform and a Conservative Party donor? Is that what you're doing? Because frankly, diggers ain't got a lot to do with politics, generally. They really haven't. It's like when there's an accident with an excavator, the press always says it's a JCB. Poor JCB even get bad press when it's not their fault. Very true. I don't think they've ever seen a big excavator. Yeah. But why not ask? I mean, I know why not ask, because it didn't suit their purposes. But, bearing in mind that thing was being too big came from the council. Surely somebody within the council is aware that there are 15, 20, 30, 40, 60, 800-ton excavators out there. By comparison, an 11-ton Pothole Pro is about that big. Nonsense, I tell you. I see Lloyd's doing a reduced mortgage for new ones in. Wonder, is this partial to this? I don't think that's got anything to do with it. But bearing in mind what happened back in 2008, 2009 with subprime mortgages and giving money away, we all know how that pans out, don't we? Nigel Williams says, I'm doing my best to stay away from politics, but I did follow a number of councils who flipped reform when the writing was on the wall pre-election, and the outgoing councils hamstrung them by signing service delivery contracts in advance. I believe this is the case there. Yeah, it could well be. Could well be. But like I said at the outset, if Leicestershire County Council had spent, I don't know what a Pothole Pro is. Let's say it's 50 grand. They spent 50 grand, and the thing had been parked up from the day they bought it because it was unfit for purpose. And somebody did a Freedom of Information Act and said to the council leaders, you are not carrying out due diligence. Your procurement process is fundamentally flawed. You have spent taxpayer money on a machine that is not fit for the job for which it was purchased. Fine. Absolutely. I think that's in the public interest, particularly if you happen to be in Leicestershire. But this was the non-purchase of a machine that didn't cost anyone any money. It was a free trial, didn't cost anyone any money. And it was published on the BBC, not local, national. Well, let's be honest, other people read internationally, globally. There is a global story about somebody not buying a machine because they didn't like the look of it. There is, and I've never worked out if this is true or some sort of apocryphal tale. Back when I was in my journalist training, that we were told, and the guy that told us swore blind that this was the truth. Apparently there was a headline back in the dim and distant past that read, near war, no one killed. In other words, there's no story here, but we are required to fill column inches. That is what we've got here. The funny thing is, how could they know all this in one day? Good point. And where would you go and test? Where would you test it in one day? Now, bearing in mind, this was done in January. Not an ideal time to be testing machines on highways, I think you'll agree. But bearing in mind what you are trying to do with a Pothole Pro, but also with a test. In a day, how many operators do you think they got on it? 1, 2, maybe? But listen, maybe they all got half an hour each. Maybe they got 3 or 4 on there. But they've had no learning curve. It's literally jump on, what do you think? And off again. Is that how you evaluate a machine? What do you learn in, and bearing in mind, it would have been delivered, so it probably didn't get there till, I don't know, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, probably back on the low loader by about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. How can you make such grand, all-encompassing statements about the efficacy of a particular machine when you've had it for a few hours? There's no chance for you to bed that in. Have you ever had that with a machine or with a car? When my wife's, we've got a Kia. When it first arrived, it was quite stiff. It's an automatic, but the pedals were a bit stiff, and seats a bit too upright and a bit too. Give it a couple of weeks. Oh, actually, it's all loosened up. Now I've got a car that I can deal with. Same as a pair of shoes. You buy some shoes. Dr. Martens being a prime example. You buy them, you put them on your feet for the first 2 weeks. They are fucking torture. They are physical torture. You've got blisters on your blisters. Your toes are bleeding. They are agony. 3 weeks later, they are the most comfortable thing you've ever had on your plate to meat. A couple of hours. 'Tis nonsense, I say. Demo Darth says, in my opinion, there's two sides to the BBC. One side makes excellent dramas and documentaries, especially Sir David stuff. Then there's the new side, which is massively one-sided. I hate to say you're right, but you're right. The BBC are staffed by midwits who wouldn't know the difference between a digger and a dozer. Two diametrically opposed machines, yeah. And what I find astonishing is the lack of curiosity. The lack of curiosity. So if you go to a site, there's been a ram raid. Let's say there's been a ram raid, because they happen from time to time. And you're told a JCB has tried to take an ATM out of a wall, and you get there and stood in front of you is the machine, abandoned. And written on the side of it are the words CAT 428. Take that, type CAT 428 into it, and it will say, oh, there's a backhoe loader manufactured by Caterpillar out of Desford in Leicestershire. It's a British made product, but it's actually an American company. You'd have all of that at your fingertips. Instead of which say, oh, a JCB has attempted a robbery. Nope. No, it hasn't. Nonsense. And now let's not forget, rather, says Demo Darth, BBC had on the books and kept going and defended when people started noticing naughty things going on. Sir Jimmy, Rolf Harris, Stuart Hall, and so on. Anyone remember Carillion? Is Vistry the next Carillion? I don't know the answer to that. But having lived through the Carillion debacle, having lived through the ISG debacle, the signs were there. Now, this thing with Vistry could well be new management, new broom. We need to get our ship in order, because times is tough at the moment, particularly for house building. We need to really nail down on our costs, get some cash behind us, which is fantastic. I don't blame them for doing that at all. But if you look at the three major things they've done, like I say, pursuing the supply chain for retrospective discounts of 10%, slashing the cost of their houses, seeking voluntary redundancies, that starts to tell a different picture. Now, it might be an utterly misleading picture, but surely a journalist's job is to say context, background, history. Jim says, makes no sense. Leicestershire is close enough to Staffordshire. There's a couple of cars full of people could easily nip over to Staffordshire Council and see pothole pros at work. Yeah, I mean, I'm fairly sure I've got the article readily to hand, because just trying to remember. Yes, it is. The pothole pro is working successfully, not just in Staffordshire, although you'd like to think it is because that's where they're actually born, but they're working in Nottinghamshire, Lincolnshire, and Staffordshire. All literally a stone's throw away from Leicestershire, and for some reason they seem to have a different landscape in Leicestershire. It's okay in Nottinghamshire, it's okay in Staffordshire, but the moment you bring it to Leicestershire, all goes wrong. The machine gets bigger and less appropriate. Ken Hatchett, my apologies, Ken. I will start the show half an hour late. If you have an OnlyFans subscription, the RAM raiding takes place frequently. Okay. Thankfully, I don't have an OnlyFans account, and I've never actually been on the site. Never thought that would be my cup of tea, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. The less said about that, the better. Shall we crack on? Because it is half an hour in. We've already lost one of our audience because I've been babbling on for far too long. Incidentally, that thing about Vistry, that thing about the JCB, you can find them. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see them there. It's also on Demolition Insider. Go and have a look. Let's have a bit of this. If anyone needs it, I've just put a link in the chat to Demolition Insider should you want to do a bit more reading. Dan says, I wonder if they know their arse from their elbows. I don't know if they know their arse from their elbows. See, here's the thing. And this is precisely why I did the reporting that I did on Vistry. Vistry will go pop. I mean, I can't prove that right now, but they may. Okay, Vistry will go pop and drag a lot of smaller firms down with it, unless they're big enough, have a big enough land bank to generate interest in a buyout. That is why, as a journalist, that's one of the things that you do. You know, surely part of your job is background. It's historic facts, it's context, it's nuance, but also surely your job is there to inform the wider industry. There will be subcontractors and various other parts of the supply chain that today, tomorrow, Monday next week will be offered the opportunity to work with Vistry. Now, in all likelihood, they could probably do so quite safely, get their money at some point, and all will be right with the world. But surely a good idea is to go in informed. There's been quite a lot of sketchy information about Vistry. Should I do it? Should I get paid up front? Should I get partial payment up front before I commit to this? Because I've got my own family and colleagues to worry about. Surely that is part of your job as a journalist, to keep people informed. Nigel says, a question for the wider audience. How do we feel about being billed personally for plant damages during the course of our work? I'm going to throw that open. I know this is a slightly different subject, but my youngest daughter, works for an electrical contractor, and part of her job is to pay for parking for. She's office based, but they've got lots of engineers dotted around, mainly working in London, and they phone up and ask her to book parking spaces for them, which she does. She's got their registration details, she's got the company credit card, and she will book them. And the regular conversation, where are you? Yeah, there's a car park here. How long do you need? 2 hours? Fine. Okay, well, I booked it for 2.5. If the driver then spends 3.5, 4, 5 hours at that site and doesn't refresh the parking, my daughter gets billed for that, which I think is an absolute fucking outrage. Anybody got any thoughts on that? How do you feel about being billed personally for plant damages during the course of your work? That could be a whole different discussion entirely, I think. Might even do that as an evening show. Let's talk electric. Let's talk Develon. It's a quick film. Here we go.
Develon delivers more electric power. From mini to wheel and crawler excavators, we are expanding our electric lineup for modern European job sites. Built on proven machine platforms, this lineup combines diesel-level performance with zero emission and low noise, helping shape smarter and more sustainable future for construction. For more details about our electric lineup, contact your Develon local dealer.
Now, I don't know this for sure, but I would imagine some of those electric machines will be at Hillhead in, what is it, a week's time? Yeah, this time next week I'll have been and come back again. Yeah. What do we got over in the chat? We have somebody in the chat saying this. Dan says, I think that'd be a great thing as it would put operators in line. Yeah, I'm not seeing it quite that way. I think that's a step too far. And force them to look after their machine. I mean, I know where you're coming from, Dan. I do believe that this is a carrot and stick conversation. You look at companies like, and I'm going to use them as an example, AR Demolition. They operate a strict one-man, one-machine system at their place. And all of the machines feature either the operator's name painted on the side or their nickname or whatever it might be, all very personalized to each individual operator. There's no enforcement, there's no fines, there's no financial penalties, but that because they basically empower that operator to, this is my machine and I will look after it. It has the same effect, but there's no animosity as a result. Personally, I think that's a better way of doing it, but there you are. Jim says, if it's wholly my fault, then fair enough, but anything else would just mean I'll be off elsewhere. Yeah, that would be my feeling. My mate has a crusher that's been hit by a digger, cracked the elevator conveyor, knocked out the rollers and needs a lot of work and is out of action this week. I estimate 12 grand's worth of damage and downtime. I mean, that's too much, isn't it? That is too much. If you've taken a crusher offline, somebody's got to pay for it. And to do 12 grams of damage, I mean, that's not a slight knock, is it? Somebody's really, really clouted that. And I do think somebody should pay. Keep it all coming in. I can tell you the chat is still going on around our poll for today. I don't think we've had a single vote for Shantui, but you can see the details right at the top of the show. It's going to remind you very quickly. It is the Mini Excavator World Cup. Volvo taking on Shantui. Poor old Shantui look like they're going out at their first time of asking. I see too many operators don't care and jump seats. Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be one of them. You want me to pay what? Yeah, okay. I'm seeking another job. See you later. Right, people, we're going to be back with a bit of Komatsu in a moment, and we're going stateside for that. Are we? Yes, we are. Yes, we are. I was just checking my notes. We are going to America.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Yeah, there's a good distinction to draw as well. Andy Develon says, in my opinion, it all depends if the damage is completely accidental or misuse and dicking about. There's a fair bit of dicking about goes on. I'm going to have to press the play button now because I can feel a sneeze coming on. So we're going off to the States with the fine folks at Komatsu.
We run articulated trucks a lot on our projects. They seem to be a pretty beneficial tool.
Since we've gotten to use the 460 and it's been on site, it's been the go-to truck for all the guys. It doesn't really struggle with any condition we put it in so far.
The 460 is definitely user-friendly. I had a meniscus surgery in January, was a year. It's really helping me come back to work a little bit easier. Suspension-wise, everything's a lot easier on my body, which is nice. It's nice that you have cruise control to be able to have a set miles per hour ascending down from the hillside. If you set it at 15 on the descent, it's nice because then you don't have to think about it. You'd be like, okay, and it's doing its own thing, slowing down for you.
Something you can see probably in the background a little bit, just the ruts and the conditions that we're dealing with. Like a truck that's able to go over the road isn't going to last more than a week out here probably.
On super muddy stuff, it works. It seems pretty good. I have not got stuck with that one at all.
As long as I've been doing this, 25, 30 years, we've always had Komatsu on a smaller scale. And once we started to expand and started to grow a little bit, I would contribute a lot of our relationship with Komatsu for that growth. Big fan of Komatsu, big fan of modern machinery, big fan of their equipment, not just the haul truck, but everything that we have in our fleet.
Thank you, Andy. Bless you. He says there's more to come. There was some sneezing going on, but I think there's more to come. Nigel Williams says, had you had the Chinese brand on dozers, then I'd be tempted to vote them in. Carbon copy of Komatsu virtually. Yeah, you're not far wrong. And Dan saying, Did you see the new loading shovel down in Plymouth? I put it on the group. That's a beast. I haven't seen it, Dan. Basically, because we were on a live RAF site yesterday, it was basically blanket, no coverage. There was nothing whatsoever, no signal whatsoever. Dan says, up close and personal, these trucks look great. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Totally agree. What do we got next? Oh, I know. We're going off to Alaska. Yes, chilly Alaska with some hot Hitachis. Back after this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Yeah, I've not seen it on the chat, but apparently Dan has got a photograph of the first WA700 in the UK down on his site in Plymouth. Good stuff, Dan. Thank you very much indeed for that. Yeah, let's head off to Alaska. Cold place, hot Hitachis. What more could you ask?
I've been mining on my own since 1980. Alaska's been really nice to me. Tremendous amount of opportunity. This is the ultimate boy playground. I mean, this is a huge sandbox. This is the family farm of the North. All the people here are longtime Alaskans. Everybody works. Well, and Charlie, she watches for bears. And, you know, my wife processes the gold because there's a whole day of work to get it to a saleable. And she's the accountant, comptroller, keeps me in check. We go do lots of off-road stuff, and I go far enough away that the AM radio doesn't work. We usually start working around the end of April, and by the end of October, it's cold and nasty. And on a slow year, we probably move 750,000 yards, and on a busy year, probably 1.25. The pay gravel that we're chasing, and one machine, he's done this in about 3 weeks, and it's frozen. And then after it thaws out, we'll take the 450 and a truck and haul it out and process it down a processing plant. And we'll take that dirt that's up there, throw it back over the hole. So this particular machine, I think, has a 5-meter stick, and the way they determine this is from the center of the machine to the edge of the teeth is 57 feet. So he can make these big tall vials. Yeah, we couldn't mine it without that machine like that. So the power, the ability to roll it over. Yeah, when I got it, it had 5,500 hours on it, and it has 13,000 now. It's been pretty reliable. You know, it'd be really easy to just fill it in and have it be a lake or something like that. Well, one of the things that we did with the Corps of Engineers is we designed a process so it sloughs in and naturally creates more wetlands. This machine is like a 2006, so it had about 5,500 hours on it, and now it has 11,000. Even the air conditioning works. We take the window out, you just slide it above, which is a nice feature. So we pick up the material from where the 450 was loading it, they dump it out here, pick it up and put it in the wash plant. Puts it in an apron feeder, and we feed it into a double-deck shaker. All the fine material goes into the sluice box, and there's a big old pump under there, and we pump it out into a tailing area. We recycle our water. This is the last frontier. I guess I'm a recreational miner now. You know, I'm doing it because I want to, not because I have to. I'm having fun.
What a really great, quietly spoken guy, a recreational miner. Going back to Jim, he says, I don't jump seats because I don't care. I jump seats if I think the firm I'm working for don't care about me, my opinion, or my dedication. Good shout, Jim. I referenced hot Hitachis. I was expecting the feedback from Dan. He says, hot Hitachi, not seen a hot Hitachi since the FH range. He says that was probably one of the last of the good ones. I wish somebody from Hitachi would take you to one side and say, no, look. Yeah. We're going to Australia. We've done 2 trips to America so far, and we're going to Australia in just a moment. But first, let me very quickly remind you that Hillhead is but a week away. And if you're going, which I strongly urge you to do, make sure you go and see the fine folks at Hillhead, at MB Crusher. Right, let's go down under with Kobelco.
Good afternoon, my name's Gavin Turner. I'm the Managing Director of BWC Contracting Proprietary Limited. We run a contracting and rock wall construction business in southeast Queensland. I started the business in 1984. I've built the business from doing predominantly builders work, site cleans and small jobs, up to a point now where we are doing quarry rehabilitation. We also specialise in bulk earthworks and bulk transport of materials.
I'm Brad Turner. I'm the General Manager of BWC Contracting and Boulder Wall Constructions. So on this particular project, we're in the end-of-life phase of an old granite quarry. We're profiling the site with future use of civil and urban development. So we're taking these old style cut faces here, conforming them and bringing them back to a suitable face so that they can be bolted and treated with the various methods you can see here.
My name's Jeff Turner. I'm the Operations Manager of the Boulder Wall arm of the company. Been with the business about 18 years now, and yeah, growing up around all of this, it was sort of inevitable that I was never going to do anything else. I feel really lucky to be a part of it all. We have a lot of different projects that come and go. You can really see the difference that you made. You might start from a block of dirt, and by the end of it, it's retained, pretty, landscaped, and you feel like you're a bigger part of something that went on there.
I'm very lucky to have both my sons involved in the business as well, hands-on now in a full-time capacity, and I really couldn't do it without them. We were dealing with Chesterfield Equipment, who are the original Kobelco dealers in Queensland, and then as Bris Vegas took over the franchise, we established relationships with Kane and Marco and the team over there.
Marco, Kane, Jenny and the team are absolutely brilliant to deal with, and yeah, we look forward to every transaction when it goes through.
G'day, I am Marco Marabini. I'm a sales representative for Bris Vegas Machinery. And Gav and the boys have been a long-term customer of Bris Vegas Machinery, and prior to Bris Vegas having the Kobelco dealership, customers of Chesterfield. They've been with the Kobelco product for about 24 years and have, I think 14 odd excavators over that duration. The boys generally play in that bigger space, like the 50 tonner behind us, which is nice. It's exciting to see them all obviously playing with the bigger gear and doing a bit of different work rather than just, your more common civil site-based stuff. So behind us, we've got one of our Kobelco SK500 XD LC-10 excavators. The name behind the XD Extreme Duty. So in an application like this one over here, it is the perfect machine for it. So what it's got over our normal ones, it's got some extra gusseting on the idler housings and the trouble motors. It's got taller grouser plates. It's got extra skins on the boom, which you'll see by the boom cylinder and at the end of the boom itself. It comes with a front OPG standard on the machine. It's got extra rock guards on the inside of the dipper and longer rock guards. All this while still maintaining a Tier 3 engine, so there's no need for AdBlue or there's no DPF in this machine. They're very fuel efficient. They still pilot hydraulics, so you're getting smooth, refined hydraulics with no added emissions or any regulations to it. So it is really the best of both worlds.
We're very happy with the Kobelcos. They do a great job. The service is very good. There's no arguments when something needs to be done. It's just sorted. We're happy with the warranty. We're happy with the packages generally. We find that resale is exceptionally good. We've sold a few machines and been very happy with the outcomes in a retail space. And the availability of machines has been exceptional too. It seems the team at Bris Vegas always are in a position to be able to source a machine or to get us what we need at the time. The boys, my sons, have the same sort of relationship, and I can't see that changing for a long time into the future.
What separates BWC apart from other companies is that we have quite a young fleet. We need good brands like Kobelco to align ourselves with, because staff want good machinery to operate and we need a result, and at the end of the day you align with brands that get results, so that's why we're coinciding with Kobelco.
A couple of questions arising from that, both from Dan. He says, is the XD available in the UK? I'm guessing it is, but I don't know. If I get a chance to see the folks at Blue Machinery at Hillhead next week, I will ask the question. And have you heard anything about the big Kobelco Down Under? No, and I've given up. I'll be honest with you, I've given up. It's 2 years on. It's clear that we're not going to get anything more out of it. I mean, I guess they may actually do something for a World Demolition Award at some point in the future, in which case they may produce a film. But I got to the point where I was sending them emails and they'd come back, no change, no change, no change. So I've just stopped. I've given up. Anyway, people, that pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning show, but we do need to settle this. That is the Volvo versus Shantui World Cup excavator mini excavator World Cup. I'll get it right in a moment. Let me show it to you. That's the poll. You'll get the results as soon as I stop the poll, and I've got a funny feeling I know how this one's going to turn out. Here we go. 100%. Yes, I think that's what's known in the trade as a whitewash. Yeah, Volvo go through to the next round, while Shantui go home, I'm afraid. Another round for you tomorrow. I'm just going to very quickly have a look, see who we've got coming up. I've done this in two different sets of 12 matches. So that's completed the first set of 12 matches. Yeah, next up is Develon versus Kato. Develon versus Kato will be next, but I can tell you, as we have just proven, Volvo are in the next round, while Shantui are going home with their tail between their legs. No great surprise there. Well, lads, have a fantastic day and stay safe. Thank you very much indeed, Dan. I will do that. As I say, I'm going to shut up shop now because I do need to get to the airport, or my wife will be standing there waiting for me. That's the second whitewash. Yes, it is. I can't remember who the other one was. Was it Hyundai Kubota, I think? Fairly sure it may have been that one. But yeah, we've got, in the next round already, we've got Hitachi, Kubota, Kobelco, New Holland, Case, and now Volvo. So all big names going into the second round, which is kind of what you'd expect. Next week, or over the next couple of weeks, we've got Develon Kato, John Deere against Wacker Neuson, Takuchi against Euro Comac, Lugong versus JCB, Komatsu, Sani, and the final one for this round is Yanmar versus Sunward. I can see how that one's going to pan out as well. People, go and have a good day. As I say, I've put a link to the Demolition Insider in the chat. I'll be back tomorrow with a more complete show. Got back late last night. Also got to get off early today, so didn't really work for a morning monologue, but I will have one for you tomorrow. Until then, everyone, have a fine and splendid day. Look after yourself. Look after each other as well. Friends, family, colleagues, anybody else that you know. Until tomorrow, have a good one.